Many thanks for UCU having me speaking tonight. What a year to be Vice President for Higher Education in NUS. The government has certainly been keeping us busy. Funny thing, I ran for re-election knowing that I was going to have to fight the Teaching Excellence Framework and the bill, so I don't really know what went through my head. I'm in my second year now, but I couldn't really leave without finishing the job. Funny enough, I've also become a feature in Joe Johnson's speeches about how we disagree over student representation. Yeah, I'm the student rep telling him what's what. Not a great look, but there we are. I'm here to talk about what the bill means for students and how it doesn't deliver for us at all or for our vision for higher education. In fact, this bill can possibly be further removed from NUS's vision of what a good quality higher education system should look like. It's probably not a surprise that NUS is opposed to the Higher Education and Research Bill, and we're also opposed to the Teaching Excellence Framework, the TEF. We have launched a campaign called Quality Doesn't Grow on Fees. I like a good pun, and the hashtag that we've been using on social media has been TEF off. I don't like to mince my words. And we also support free education. So we're quite at odds with the government right now, and we seem to be talking past each other, and not a lot of listening is happening from the Minister. Also, what a time to be alive. We're getting an office for students. Yay. Actually, no. And yet politicians in government are actually legitimately arguing against the need to have student representation on the office for students. I don't think it could get more absurd than this. I mean, they're not even trying to look as if this office for students has anything to do about students with students' interests or students. They are actually arguing against the need to even have a tick box, bums on seats kind of level of representation on the board of this office for students. So you couldn't make this up, really. I just realized today is the 3rd of November, and it all started with the publication of the Higher Education Green Paper exactly like a year ago. Well, about exactly, it was the 6th of November. The Minister will always say that he's taken a consultative approach, and that's what the Green Paper was. It was a consultation over what the plans should be and whether he should make any changes to the reforms announced. It's probably an example of how not to carry out a consultation and how to not look like you were listening at all. Every single university, and even Universities UK, fed back saying the Teaching Excellence Framework or any kind of assessment of teaching quality at all should never be linked to tuition fees or the ability to raise your tuition fees, because that's just a disaster. Where are we at? It's still going ahead with the initial plans. I'm really glad to say that students didn't actually fall for the reforms and the rhetoric of the reforms as much as the language repeats students' interest ad nauseum and claims to put students at the heart of a system, as a previous white paper has as well. And students have shown from right at the start that they wouldn't have this. An eighth of the responses to the Green Paper came specifically from students' unions ripping the plans apart. And so they did in the technical consultation to the Teaching Excellence Framework this summer, where 1 in 10 students' unions responded. It's also worth noting that engagement from students in this process, consultative process, has led to some movement on certain concerns for students. Silver linings, otherwise I wouldn't be able to wake up every morning. We've won on some things, not the least in the timescale of the implementation of the Teaching Excellence Framework, which has been pushed back by 3 years, and in the contextualization of the metrics used to measure quality in the Teaching Excellence Framework, which reflected concerns articulated consistently right across the HE sector, and notably too in the Biz Select Committee report last autumn. We've also managed to keep universities subject to the freedom of information requests, because they wanted to remove that too a year ago. Not least because there's been some movement on the plans. Students and NUS retain significant concerns about the direction that the bill takes higher education and the system in. At a fundamental level, we remain unconvinced that driving universities to behave in a more competitive manner will drive improvements in quality and opportunities for students. The greater focus on market behaviours since the trebling of tuition fees has in many ways undermined lots of more positive local and regional collaboration. Creating a system where universities are pitched against each other creates distractions from what actually matters to students. It can compel universities to focus resources on marketing to prospective students, on building flashy new buildings and gyms that look good on open days, even on free iPads or gym memberships for incoming students. And while figures show that trebling fees has contributed to increasing marketing budgets, there's little evidence that trebling fees has driven up investment in or the quality of teaching. I don't think our courses got any better since the 9K fee regime kicked in. And how could they, since universities have been getting the same amount of money, but it's simply not the Treasury footing the bill, it's been graduates. What marketisation has done, though, was push us into a lifetime of debt and put more pressure on us, effectively creating a mental health crisis for students. Yet, despite massive reservations over how helpful increasing competition actually is to students, competition is written through the heart of the higher education bill and the wider white paper reforms. There's also a clear focus on creating new alternative and for-profit providers of higher education to challenge established universities. And the way that those reforms will proliferate degree awarding powers to those new institutions is a really big concern. Students have to be protected, and they have to know that they can trust their provider to give them a quality, engaging, transformative education. The international examples here, Trump University, of course, springs to mind, suggest that we need to be extremely cautious, and that's to put it mildly. It's not an elitist argument to say you're concerned that making it easier for new providers to set up universities and hand out degrees. I don't think anyone could call NUS being part of the elite. What this argument is really about is meeting students' expectations of a quality education and protecting their rights to a quality education as well, which a proliferation of degree awarding powers without the most stringent safeguards in place simply cannot do. Students are not part of a market experiment, and they should never be treated as such. I was going to talk a lot about how the teaching excellence framework is really bad, but I've clearly timed this badly. It's really bad, but what are we doing about it? We've got a demo. We've called the demo in conjunction with UCU, happening on the 19th of November. Please tell a friend and bring as many people as possible. Lobby your MP, both in your university constituency and also home constituency, if you're not from around here. And tell them to oppose the bill or support our amendments. And we're also called, if the TEF will go ahead come January, NUS will be coordinating a national boycott of the National Student Survey, because it's a metric in the TEF and it's the last lever that we have as a mass protest against the teaching excellence framework. And we really, really would need lecturer support in sending the message across to students as well as you come in contact with them. But those are the plans that we have in place, and I look forward to your questions. Thank you.